Today, we're really going deep inside the skull, looking at one of the most baffling questions in all of neuroscience. Are you actually two separate people sharing one body? We're talking about the legendary split brain patients from the 1960s. After some pretty radical surgery, researchers stumbled onto something huge. They'd basically isolated the two halves of the brain. And the results, well, they weren't just odd, they were frankly a bit terrifying.
Yeah, the initial stuff really grabbed headlines. You had patients doing things that just shouldn't be possible for one person, like drawing a circle with one hand and a square with the other at the same time.
But the thing that really sticks in your mind, the image that defined it all, was the conflict, the actual physical fighting between the hands. Seriously, like one hand going for some cake and the other hand just smacking it away.
Or one hand opening a door and the other immediately slams it shut. It was bizarre.
That internal battle, that's really the core of what we're exploring today, isn't it?
Absolutely. Our goal here is to trace this whole 60-year scientific journey, and starts way back in the 1930s with a medical emergency, goes through the amazing work of Roger Sperry and Michael Gazzaniga, and lands us in a totally new place, seeing the brain not as just two halves, but as this incredibly efficient sort of modular machine.
Okay, let's rewind. Back before consciousness was even the main question, we start with a terrible medical problem, severe epilepsy. Paint a picture for us. What was a seizure like back then?
Right. Epilepsy is essentially a massive electrical short circuit in the brain. You've got, 86 billion neurons, normally firing in complex patterns. A seizure, though, it's like a sudden, chaotic thunderstorm across huge areas of the brain. Lasts maybe 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. Complete loss of control.
And in the 30s and 40s, effective treatments were pretty limited, I imagine. Doctors must have been desperate.
They really were. And they found this strange clue. Some patients whose really bad epilepsy just vanished were later found to have, say, a tumor or some kind of blockage right on the corpus callosum.
That's the big bundle of nerves connecting the two hemispheres, right? The main information highway.
Exactly, the bridge. So if blocking the bridge stopped the electrical storm, well, the idea was radical but clear.
Cut the bridge. Cut the corpus callosum.
That's what Dr. William Van Wagenen did in 1940. He performed the surgery, called the corpus callosum section, on 26 patients with this awful, intractable epilepsy. And you know what? It worked incredibly well for the seizures. The storm couldn't cross the gap.
Okay, but here's the kicker, the thing that sets up everything else. For years, even decades, the follow-up studies basically said these patients were fine, no major cognitive changes reported. How could they miss something so huge?
Well, because the corpus callosum isn't really for, walking and talking. Day-to-day stuff usually relies on processes within one hemisphere or the other. To see the effects of the split, you needed very specific, clever tests.
Ah, okay, so nobody really designed those tests until Roger Sperry showed up in the 50s.
Right. Sperry was a neurobiologist, and he just couldn't shake the question. Why would evolution build this massive bridge if cutting it seemed harmless? He had to figure out what it actually did.
So he started with animals.
Yep, cats. Back in 1952, you do the surgery, cut the corpus callosum, then he'd teach the cat something visual, like telling a triangle from a square, but he'd cover one eye. So only one hemisphere got the lesson.
And then I guess test the other eye, the other hemisphere.
Exactly. And that other hemisphere, it was completely clueless, had no idea what the first one learned. It proved definitively that the hemispheres were now functionally isolated, that harmless initial assessment. Totally wrong.
And he also confirmed the basic wiring, right? Left brain controls the right body, right brain controls the left.
That's right, the motor neuron crossover, essential groundwork.
Which brings us to the really famous human studies. Sperry's student, Michael Gazzaniga, starts working with these patients, like WJ, in 1962. This is where it gets really mind-bending.
Gazzaniga's genius was the testing setup. Using a screen, he could flash a word or a picture to only the left or the right visual field. And because of how vision is wired, that means the information goes to only one hemisphere.
Okay, run us through it. Flash the word car to the right visual field. Where does that go?
Goes to the left brain. And because the left brain handles language in almost everyone.
The patient just says car. Simple enough.
Right. But now, the shocker. Right. Flash an image, maybe a picture of a saw, to the left visual field. That goes only to the right brain. Ask the patient what they saw.
What did they say?
They say nothing, or I don't know. Because the left brain, the one that talks, is completely blind to it. It received no information.
But the right brain saw the saw. So Gazzaniga then asks them to draw it with their left hand, the one controlled by the right brain.
And boom, They draw a perfect picture of the saw. The right brain knew, it just couldn't speak. It was trapped.
Wow, so that nails down the specialization. Left brain does language, details. Right brain handles the big picture, spatial stuff, maybe emotion.
Broadly, yes. Visual motor tasks, melody, rhythm, that seems to be more right brain territory.
And this sharp division, this is what led to that incredible conflict, the two minds idea, right? Like with the Coase block test.
Exactly. That's a test of arranging blocks to match a pattern. Needs good spatial skill. So, patient WJ uses his left hand, controlled by the spatially gifted right brain, solves it super fast.
But then make him use his right hand, controlled by the left brain.
Total struggle. Fails again and again. The left brain just isn't good at that kind of spatial puzzle.
And this is where the hands start fighting.
Oh yeah. The failing right hand might get frustrated, knock blocks over. Sometimes the successful left hand would actually try to jump in and help.
Like instinctively.
It seemed that way. But even weirder, if they tried to use both hands together, the clumsy right hand would sometimes actively sabotage the skilled left hand, pushing it away, undoing its work.
That's the alien hand syndrome stuff. One hand opening a door, the other slamming it shut. I mean, how could you not conclude you're looking at two separate consciousnesses battling it out?
It's a powerful image. And honestly, that became the dominant theory for quite a while. It felt like proof that we're fundamentally divided beings. The philosophical implications were, well, huge.
But Gazzaniga wasn't satisfied. He kept pushing, right? He wanted to know how these separate minds made sense of their own limitations, their own ignorance, which led him to patient VP and the biggest twist yet.
Yes, VP Xiaowei. First surprise with VP was that, over time, her right brain actually developed some basic speech. Just simple words, couldn't describe complexity, but still, it could talk a little.
Okay, so that sets up the critical experiment, the concocted story.
Right. Gazzaniga flashes an image, a woman talking on an old-fashioned telephone to VP's right brain only. Using her limited right brain speech, she says.
A woman. Makes sense.
But then Gazzaniga asks for more detail. And VP, still relying on that right brain input, gives this really weird answer. Skipping rope.
Skipping rope. Where did that come from? The phone cord.
Exactly. That's the key insight. The right brain saw the woman, saw the thin, dark line of the cord. It couldn't put it together as telephone. So it sends those two basic facts, woman, line, across whatever minimal pathways still existed to the left brain.
And the left brain, the talking hemisphere, gets this garbled input, woman and line. It didn't see the picture itself.
Correct. And the left brain hates not knowing. It hates gaps in the story. It feels this cognitive dissonance, this anxiety about the missing information.
So it doesn't say, I don't know, or the signal's fuzzy.
No way. Its primary job is to create a coherent narrative of reality for you. So it looks for a cause, fills in the blank, and it invents a plausible story. Woman, line, okay, maybe she's holding a skipping rope. It makes sense of the information it received.
So the left brain it's the interpreter. It's constantly spinning tales, trying to make sense of everything, even if it means fudging the details or just making stuff up.
That was Gazzaniga's huge breakthrough, the interpreter theory. The right brain is more literal, maybe more honest to the raw facts. The left brain is the storyteller, the meaning maker. It demands causality and coherence, even if it has to invent them.
That changes everything. Our unified sense of self isn't just there. It's an ongoing construction project run by the left hemisphere.
It's arguably the most profound finding. This interpreting, narrating function is essential for how we navigate the world, resolve conflicts internally, and basically function as human beings.
Okay, fast forward. The interpreter idea challenges the simple two minds view, but then technology really blows the doors open, right? MRI comes along.
Right, magnetic resonance imaging. Suddenly we could see brain structure and eventually track information flow without surgery. Neuroimaging exploded.
And this let Gazzaniga and his students see things even more clearly. Like with patient JW, they found something even more specific than just spatial skills in the right brain.
Yeah, they pinpointed a specific area in JW's right brain that was dedicated solely to figuring out an object's orientation. You know, whether it's tilted or upside down.
Yeah.
They called it the rotation invariant module.
Rotation invariant module. Okay, break that down. A module is like a specialized little tool.
Pretty much. A small, dedicated piece of neural hardware that does one specific job automatically, like recognizing an object no matter how it's turned.
So forget two big managers arguing. The brain is actually like dozens, maybe hundreds of these little specialist teams. A spelling module, a face recognition module, an object rotation module.
That's the modern view. The brain isn't two things. It's this highly modular distributed network. Gazaniga estimates there are at least dozens of these core modules.
Then why build it that way?
Efficiency. Pure evolutionary smarts. Think about it. Connecting all 86 billion neurons directly, the wiring would be miles long, you'd need an enormous head, burn insane amounts of energy, and processing would be slow.
Right, the heat alone would be a problem.
Exactly. Modularization is the solution. It cuts down drastically on the wiring, allows for a smaller skull, speeds things up, makes the system more stable, and crucially, adds fault tolerance.
Meaning if one little module breaks, the whole system doesn't go down.
Precisely. Other modules can often compensate, or the function loss is localized. It's a much more robust design.
It sounds like an orchestra, maybe, but not one where the conductor is controlling every single note.
That's a great analogy Gazaniga uses. Think of Leonard Bernstein conducting Haydn. Sometimes he'd practically stop actively waving his arms. He'd just react with facial expressions because the musicians, the modules, knew their parts perfectly. They kick in, do their job automatically.
So there's no single boss, no CEO in the brain. It's all decentralized, automated specialists.
Largely, yes. Complex tasks get broken down non-linearly and tackled by these specialized modules working together, often in parallel. It's a distributed system.
It's just incredible, this whole journey, 60 years, from thinking cutting the brain in half did nothing to believing in two warring souls to now, this intricate network of efficient modules.
It's been a wild ride in neuroscience, truly. And this latest understanding, the modular one, it's not just theoretical anymore.
Right, and that's the key takeaway for you listening now. This whole idea of breaking down tasks, understanding these specialized modules, it's the bedrock for today's brain-computer interface technology, BCI. You need the map before you can interact with the territory.
We've spent decades essentially reverse engineering the brain's software architecture. We're finally starting to develop the tools to communicate directly with some of these functional units.
So we have the map, we're building the tools, which leads to the final, pretty mind-bending question. Now that we understand the architecture, what's next? Do we use this knowledge to build a super AI first, or do we use it to build ourselves a super brain?
The story that started with those battling hams back in the 60s, it feels like it's only just beginning to tell us what it truly means to be human in this modular age.